Hey, fancy meeting you here. How you doing, huh? Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast with BC Amplified for Thursday, July 13th, 2023. Now, if you feel like you're having a little bit of deja vu, like we just did this a few hours ago, don't worry, you're not losing it. Or maybe you are, that's for somebody else to diagnose, but I can confirm you did in fact come across an upload just a few hours ago. You see, this is what we call a double dose of amplification. Twice the amplification in one day, a double decker. I had some extra time, there's more to talk about. I said my amplified unit better be on fire today, because we rocking out. Now, if you didn't catch the one earlier, just a few hours ago it got uploaded, we talked to Jey Uso. Many fans demanding that it has to be Jey Uso to walk out of Detroit at SummerSlam with Roman Reigns' title. Fans demanding it's Jey Uso or bust. And BC's response, delusional. We talk all about it in that podcast. We just uploaded it a few hours ago. We also talked the dire straits that sadly NXT finds itself in. It's a sad topic. It had to be discussed. We did it just a few hours ago. Check it after this podcast. We also talked AEW, the reason, or at least more detail, more of the underlining issue as to why Warner Brothers Discovery will not finalize a new TV rights deal with Tony Khan, even though the AEW boss has been trying to finalize this deal for months. And it keeps getting prolonged. And now we have a little bit more insight. It might shock you guys as to what is keeping Warner Brothers Discovery from finalizing this deal. That and a lot more. It was a packed, stacked, jacked podcast a few hours ago. And I thank the thousands of you guys that have already caught it. I thank you guys big time. And if on this podcast you're just maxing out, relaxing, feet kicked up, bevy in your hand, and you just watching BC rock out, or if you're out in the world, maybe you got some grocery shopping to do, maybe you're taking a jog around the block, maybe you're on a cruise somewhere and you just got the earbuds in, you're listening to BC, to every single one of my Red Team Go and my Gold Card status, my channel members, my entire amplified unit, a big salute to every single one of you guys. Thank you. For every podcast, you guys don't just show up and show out. You smash that up. You throw coffees at BC in the channel. You show the utmost of appreciation. And I just want you guys to know it is reciprocated. It's sent right back to you. Double fold. How's that? A double dose of amplification. A double dose of respect right back to you guys. So let's get on with today's Part 2 of the podcast. What's our stories, BC? Well, you see the thumbnail and the headline. Ronda Rousey leaving WWE. It's becoming more apparent that's the route that she has taken. And there's a big UFC return rumor that turned reputable, then was shot down by Ariel Helwani, and now new information has just sent everything upside down. BC is going to discuss everything, I should say, surrounding the Ronda Rousey WWE exit UFC return story that is breaking out in real time. We'll talk Ronda Rousey and her last days in WWE. Some of you may say, unfortunately. Some of you may say, good riddance. It can't come soon enough. We'll talk about it. Ronda Rousey, a big story developing there. We're also... what about this one? Okay. AEW fans, you might not be happy about this. AEW was sent a massive notice from Warner Brothers Discovery to their legal department. The legal department then sent documents to every single talent. It's a laundry list of things you can no longer do in AEW. And it's most of the things that many AEW fans said made it special and an alternative. Wait till you hear what's on this list, man. It's not outright you can't do it per se. You just have to run it by management. Every one of these things now has to be ironed out through management. A lot of fans are going to say, good, that's what should have been happening. Otherwise, you're running a sloppy shop, and that's why Tony is running into all these issues. Other people are going to say, dude, these are professionals. This is not kindergarten. Let them go out there and do what they're going to do. No matter what side of the fence you're on, this is a massive development, and it's going to greatly change AEW going forward. Because you know a lot of this stuff, just based on how it sounds coming out of these talents' mouths to management, it's going to get shot down, and they're not going to be able to do a lot of it. I'm going to go over the list with you, or at least a lot of what's on the list. You guys decide how this is going to change AEW. And Kenny Omega is firing back on critics of his match recently at Forbidden Door. People that thought his style was too dangerous. He should not have been taking certain moves. Wait till you hear what Kenny Omega says, and this just adds fuel to the fire. I told you, it is a packed, jacked, stacked show. It was earlier when we put up the first podcast. Nothing's changed. In fact, it might have just gotten even more amplified. BC's going to go get another coffee. You guys are going to smash that up if you haven't already. And if you already did, then go on another device, your phone, a big screen, your other laptop, and smash it again. Why not? And then come right on back. We're going to talk all these stories and a hell of a lot more. I also got the AEW rating, guys. It just came out. Right now, actually. We'll talk the AEW Dynamite rating. Did it go up? Did it go down leading into Blood and Guts? BC's got to get a coffee and then come right on back. We're going to get amplified the second time today. So the Dynamite rating that just popped up as we were recording the cold open to this podcast, it looks to be reputable. The first number I come across when it comes to ratings, I don't usually like to jump on them. I like to have confirmation through other reputable sources. This looks to be the finalized number. AEW Dynamite pulled 825,000 viewers this week. They lost 30,000 viewers from last week. Of course that's not good. There's no big competition. The MLB All-Star Game was Tuesday night. No more NBA playoffs. NHL long gone. No football, obviously. Baseball, in fact, is taking the whole week off. And they just lost 30,000 viewers going into Blood and Guts, going into a big event for AEW. So this just, I'm not going to harp on it because people just cry. They get offended. They don't want to hear constructive criticism that will actually help AEW, by the way. That's all we do on the channel. But people don't want to hear it, man. They stick their tribalist flag in the front yard. They got their fucking merch that says AEW, and they don't want to hear anything that's negative or they deem negative, even if it's constructive. 825. I don't, this is what long gone are the days where 950 was the consistent, and now we say they're at the low end of the top tier, which is 850, but the truth is the past several months, they're even having a hard time hitting 850. Guys, you go, what's next? 750, and when it hits 750 as the new normal, are you then going to say, yeah, nothing wrong with it? And then 650, and then what? Rampage, Collision, and Dynamite are all pulling 500,000 to 600,000 viewers apiece every week. 5 to 6 is where everything is going to fall out in the next year to year and a half. Rampage and Collision are already there. If they keep falling, obviously, they just got to be kicked off the air. But 825, they dropped back 30,000 viewers. I'd love to tell you I'm shocked. I can't talk about it. Nobody wants to hear it, right? Whatever. It's the best show, BC. It's the best promotion with the Booker of the Year and the Talent of the Year and the Matches of the Year. in the merchandise of the year, in the janitor of the year, in the custodian of the year. Is that the same thing? Janitor and custodian? The cafeteria of the year with the catering crew of the year. All right. Warner Brothers Discovery, right? We talked about this earlier. Warner Brothers Discovery. Every time you read an article, it's always Warner Discovery is so happy with AEW. Warner Discovery is thrilled by the numbers. And then we move the goalpost, right? Well, Warner Discovery is adding in all of the delayed viewership, not just the overnight. So in the last 7 days, through different metrics, you can add another 100,000 to Collision, basically. And then they move the goalpost again, and they talk, well, Collision is not supposed to be the number one spot on Saturday, BC. Warner Discovery is happy if they just compete. Right? That was a real article that made its rounds. Warner Discovery's goals for Collision is just to compete with competition. What? You're not in this to be the best? Not compete, but beat. We just keep moving the goalpost. No, if you saw the podcast earlier, yeah, I told you a little bit of a story where Warner Discovery is not too happy with the numbers. And it's not David Zaslav, the CEO even. It's the CFO. I explain all about it in the podcast we put up just a few hours ago. But, Warner Discovery, you hear all of these just nothing but positive articles. And it's usually people that have friends in the business, right? Whether it's Fightful and Sean Ross, they have their little, what's his name, man? I just said it in the last podcast. Billy Washington, I believe is his name, who was on their podcast, and now he works with AEW. Then you have Davey Meltzy Boy. His buddies are obviously Young Bucks and others in the talent for the company. So you never hear, you never hear the truth. Everybody is so happy. Booker of the year, company of the year, matches of the year, all of this great. I mean, this company, this is hotter than Nitro and Raw from the Attitude Era, you would think. All the articles about Warner Discovery and how happy they are with AEW, you would think this is the hottest promotion we've ever seen. And if you add up all three shows' viewership, they can't even get to Monday Night Raw status. All three combined. But we can't talk about it. If the numbers go backwards, we're supposed to just sit on it. Nah, don't talk about it. Only talk about it when they're doing really good. Let's talk about Wembley Stadium, basically. Let's talk about All In selling 60, 70 plus thousand tickets, right? Well, yeah. They're doing good on that one show, AEW's Grand Hoorah to the UK. A lot of people flocking to it. It's great. Have you looked at the ticket sales all around it? Back here in the US, the Collisions going forward, do you see the empty seats? Are you looking at the ratings? Are you seeing the pattern going backwards? No. Earmuffs on the bad. Let's concentrate on All In. It's their WrestleMania beast. Well, you better hope that produces such interest that it gives a shot into all of the limbs of Collision, Rampage, and Dynamite, because it has to give them a pulse. Rampage has been slowly and at some points fastly dying for the longest time. Collision seems to be DOA, dead on arrival, mingling already in the 500s, at one point in the 4s. Only debuted at 816 anyway. Saturday night, BC, that's the excuse. No, it's not an excuse. What? Warner Discovery doesn't want them to be that good on the ratings, BC. They just want them to give a decent number and compete. Wow. So they put out a show. They moved mountains to get the toxic Phil Brooks CM Punk back, who was supposed to save AEW. They moved mountains to get him back. They gave him an all-new show, and their expectations is just to be mid-AF? They're okay with 400,000 and 500,000 viewers? Yeah? Is it 10 times what the show beforehand was giving them? They also weren't paying extra money for those shows. Do you understand there's a production fee every week that Warner Discovery has to pay them? Do you understand there's production fees that the USA Network, Comcast, Universal has to pay Vincent Kennedy every single week for Raw? Now I believe Endeavor, they'll be paying those checks too. It's not just the TV, right? It's production fees. There's still marketing that the networks have to do for the show that Khan does not pay for. He can. AEW can pay for their own marketing as well if they choose to, but a lot of the marketing you see on the networks, like for instance, Fox and SmackDown, all of the SmackDown marketing you see on Fox's network broadcast, that's Fox paying that. That's not WWE advertising for it. That's how this works. Again, sometimes the company can do such, and they do. But most of these advertisements, man, that's all out of their pocket on top of what they've already paid for the TV rights deal. And by the way, this was just part of an already handshake, basically, agreement. Tony Khan did not get anything substantial for Collision. As I said in the podcast earlier, Warner Discovery is going to absolutely rob Tony Khan, and Tony Khan can't do anything but take it. He's not in the position due to the ratings and the lack of interest in his own fan base going backwards, retreating, leaving in droves. Tony Khan is in no predicament to negotiate. But we can't speak the truth. They dropped 30,000 against no competition, heading into Blood and Guts, but you see, it doesn't matter because they're the best, right? Collision has only been around for 1 month. Do you know what wrestling fans are honestly saying now? Collision's the best weekly wrestling show. I don't care. It's the best wrestling show. That's great. What is that even saying? Wrestling shows fucking suck today. Sadly. They suck. NXT is oversaturated with main roster talent when Doofus McGee, Schnoz McGee, Doofus son-in-law, I should say, Pinocchio Pussface, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque McMahon said it was college to the NFL. It's developmental. And the main roster has absolutely just taken over NXT to pop a rating. Dynamite, you can miss half of it, you didn't miss anything. Some people would say you can miss the whole thing, you missed nothing. No, you missed MJF and Adam Cole. They're so hilarious together. Like Randy Orton and Scooter McGee, basically. Well, I didn't think they were funny either. Monday Night Raw, you either sleep through it or you want to put your dome piece through a brick wall. SmackDown is tolerable because of the bloodline. You wait for somebody like LA Knight, who's super over and ultra white hot right now, and they don't even use him. So you still get left with a bad taste in your mouth on SmackDown as well. And Collision, Rampage, Rampage is like Impact. Is there anybody watching? I am, Beasley. Beasley, I watch it over here. Red jacket, black hat. Hi, I watch Rampage. Good. Awesome. And then there's Collision. Brand new. It's the best wrestling show of the week. Great. Tell that in your 140 characters. Tell that to every fucking podcast. Tell to everybody you know. Nobody gives a shit. If you rated it the number one wrestling show of the week, guess what? Nobody else agrees with you. Look at the numbers. Fucking diddling around in 400s just last week. 4th of July, boys. You still lost a third of your audience since you debuted, which was just a month ago. Fucking around at 500 something even without the 4th of July. And that's with the savior of AEW. Man, I said I wasn't going to spend a long time on it, but it's... I hate delusional numbnuts who just get offended and they put feelings over facts. I'm so tired of hearing AEW is best at everything when they are no better than WWE because it all sucks still. Everything is AEW's the best. AEW's the best booker. AEW's the best promotion. AEW has the best maintenance team. AEW has the best catering crew. AEW has the best matches, the best blood spots, the best everything, Beasley. And your own audience is leaving. It's not must-see TV. Nobody cares about it. I'm glad you found a niche where you find that you fit in, right? Maybe mom and dad didn't love you enough as a kid, and you found AEW, you sport the letters, and you feel like this is the underground fucking thing you've been waiting for since the last underground band that you loved, but they sold out, and then you turned your back on them because you feel they turned their back on you. They sold out, right? You're supposed to stay underground. You're not supposed to get rich and famous and sell a lot of your music so you can make a lot of money and have a nice life. No, you're supposed to stay underground because that's my niche. Fuck mainstream, man. I'm going to Hot Topic. Check you. You found AEW, you love it. That's great. Stop lying to yourself. It's not as great as you claim. If it was as great as you claim, the numbers would back it up. This is where you now say, ratings don't matter in 2023, Beasley. Metrics are different now, Beasley. Look at all-in ticket sales, Beasley. Oh, you don't want to go to ticket sales. Because once all-in is all done, yeah, we can go over ticket sales for AEW. I assure you, you don't want to do that. 825,000 viewers. And again, and all you hear when the show is done, what a great episode it was. What a phenomenal episode. Wow, this is the episode that got AEW back on track. You hear all this wild shit. And if it's true, I mean, you're going to pop a milli 2, milli 3. That good? You're going to start seeing that on social, everything that's happening. People are going to flock to it during the program. That's what happens when something's really good. People flock to it during the program. The quarterlies just go up and up and up and up. Man, I tell you, man, AEW fans, a portion of them, I have really great AEW fans as part of the Amplified unit. Love you guys, man. And hopefully we can create the real change that needs to happen for that company to really be competition to Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque McMahon, and Vincent Kennedy, and Nick Khan in the future. Competition for endeavors, WWE. Hopefully. But there's a portion of AEW fans, man, it's like you're dealing with toddlers. You just got to give them a treat to shut them up or some shit. Speaking of shutting up, did you guys hear what Kenny Omega said? This was people that were, I guess they were just unhappy with the style of wrestling. One specific move, the Tiger Driver 91 spot. That was the one that caught the most attention. Not in the most positive of ways from a lot of fans. Well, Kenny Omega responded to all the critics because it doesn't just stop to 140 characters. They start trying to get to Tony Khan and AEW to change these things. And that might have been one of the tipping points that made Warner Discovery do what they did. And we're about to talk about what they did in a couple of minutes. But Kenny Omega says, and I quote, about the criticism of his match, his style, and that Tiger Driver 91 spot in particular. Kenny Omega says, they just want to put a dark mark on that match, which is a performance I'm extremely proud of. And performances like that will be few and far in between as I get older and older. He says, to me, that's the peak form of that style of entertainment. As I watch these shows and their stunts and their compositions for every scene, it is rare for me to go, that looks easy. I could do that. But there certainly are times when I watch what they do and know this is their identity, and that is the reason why they're on that stage. Look at the way Mike Tyson boxed. His style was so dangerous. He stayed so close to his opponent. He says, wouldn't that have been better for his brain to just switch up the style? But no, he remained close. It remained dangerous. Didn't he understand how dangerous it was? But that is what made Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson. Don't tell me not to wrestle the way I know how to wrestle. Is there a risk? Was there a risk when Mike Tyson was fighting? He says, is there a risk? Like a question. Like, is there a risk? And then he asks his own question. Was there a risk when Mike Tyson was fighting within inches of space between another championship level boxer throwing power punches? Of course there's risk. But Tyson was confident in his abilities, and he knew he was the best. So don't tell Mike Tyson how to box. And don't tell Tyson Smith how to wrestle. You aren't even close to being qualified. Just shut the fuck up. End quote. From Kenny Omega. Damn. Okay, had to get a swig of coffee there. That's a lot to digest, man. You don't... Kenny Omega, IRL, really cool dude. For those that don't know, really cool. Anybody will tell you that. You really don't hear him go that in on fans. I mean, there's some back and forth at times on social, in interviews. Not to that degree. You're not going to find that. There's been heated back and forth, but not that. For him to say, and I quote, don't tell Mike Tyson how to box and don't tell Tyson Smith how to wrestle. You aren't even close to being qualified. Just shut the fuck up. He told the fans to shut the fuck up, bro. First of all, for those of you that don't know, don't tell Tyson Smith how to wrestle. We got to pull back the curtain a little bit. That's Kenny Omega's real name, obviously. Sorry if you thought it was Kenny Omega. But that's another thing, too. For him to actually, bring his real name into it, like that's the level of he's really pissed off about that. And I think maybe he knows that it's that type of thing that tipped the scale for Warner Discovery to do what they did. And we're about to discuss that in a minute, as I said. Maybe it's things like that changed AEW just recently. A lot of people think for the worse now. And so he's probably even more pissed off about it. I don't know how you guys feel about what Kenny Omega just recently said, but that's a pissed off dude who's tired of hearing people tell him how to wrestle. I think, and you guys know I like Kenny Omega. I make no bones. I've said that from day one. I just like Kenny Omega. That's maybe an unpopular take for a lot. I understand. He's always just one of those dudes that just knows what he's doing. And he's not one of those that you need to be concerned with. Can accidents still happen? Botches occur that cause great injury? Of course. Absolutely that can happen. The old saying is it's not ballet. But Kenny Omega's not one of those dudes that you really need to be too concerned with. But people are, all right? They do. It's 2023 and everybody's up in their feelings and everybody is all about safety now, right? And that's good to a point, but you can't completely ruin something for the sake of not taking the big risks. You can't ruin something for the sake of being 100% safe, right? Comfort will catch you into a realm of complacency. To get out of comfort, you gotta take risk. Going out your front door is a risk every day. It just is. But you can't stay in your fucking house 24/7 like a hermit. You gotta take the risk, put your foot out the front door, and hope that the other one follows. It's professional wrestling. You're gonna have to take risks, no doubt. A lot of fans today, they're saying what is necessary and what is unnecessary. With Omega, the best way I can put it is there's wrestling fans that know what they're talking about. There just is, right? Not to pat myself on the back, but like BC Amplified. And maybe many of you. You just know. You know that somebody like Kenny Omega, probably no need to worry about. And then there's wrestlers, absolutely, most of us as fans, whether you are in the know or not, you know it should not be happening. There's no reason for that move to happen, right? And so we're voicing that because we can. Dude, don't put your life and career on the line You don't need to do that. And that wasn't going to do anything for you anyway, even if you landed it clean. There's those type of wrestlers, right? Who are really calling out for their safety. Not to be too safe, just to be safer than what you're doing out there unnecessarily. I hope that makes sense. You guys know what I'm talking about. Recently, we just saw situations like that. Didn't somebody do something? I think it was WWE, wasn't it? Somebody did something absolutely asinine. There was no reason. I think it was at Money in the Bank. Oh, man, that's going to bother me. But something just, I think it was Money in the Bank. And it was the level of unnecessary in this, if I may make a word up there, it was amplified. So there's always going to be that because we know wrestling by now, man. And if you're like BC, I've been in that ring. Currently, I have many friends touring the world, breaking their backs in this business. I'm showing up to a lot more of these events than you guys realize. And I'm talking backstage at a lot of these indie shows in support of my boys. And the things I see, the things I hear, the things I come across, you just get to know what is worth it, what is not. Omega knew exactly how he wanted that performance to go and what he was going to do. That's not one of those areas you need to be concerned with. Now, if Zelina Vega and Natty Knight are at the top of a ladder and they're about to do a Canadian Destroyer through a ladder perched up on 4 tables on the outside, so they're going from the ring onto the outside. Okay, maybe that's just not fucking needed with Zelina and Natty. Not the most nimble of individuals. Get what I'm saying? I hope you guys are understanding. It's a touchy subject. As fans of anything, you're going to worry about the talent you're watching for our entertainment, right? NFL, the Bills last season. You remember that we almost lost a player on the field. Thankfully, we didn't. But you remember, they stopped the game. They talked about possibly canceling the next weeks of games. That's how much we were concerned for that player. That's the NFL. We're always going to do that. NASCAR, when we lost Dale Earnhardt Sr., last lap of the Daytona 500, and he just touches the wall. We've seen much worse accidents, but he just touches the wall and he loses his life. And a lot of people are like, isn't there a way we could put safer barriers? And guess what they did finally? It took his and many others' death, but safer wall barriers were installed at every track in NASCAR. How cool is that? It finally happened. Better late than never, man, because it could have taken a lot more lives. You know, that's the right type of safety, but you're not going to stop them from going 200 miles an hour at Talladega or Daytona. No, you can't take that away. You can make it safer, but you can't totally take what makes it special away. Otherwise, you are literally destroying any semblance of a meaningful existence for a lot of human beings. Telling Kenny Omega how to wrestle is laughable. Telling Dana Brooke not to, or Braun Strowman, right? Let's get away from some of the ladies. Braun Strowman or Omos. Or even, guys, I'll even say Logan Paul and Ricochet. High flyers. I'll put Logan Paul in there already, right? He's willing to be the daredevil risk taker. No, they don't need to jump off of the top of the Raw staging area through 17 flaming tables for our entertainment. No. Sometimes it's asinine. They're doing it for a big pop for the moment. They're acting like it's going to be the Mick Foley spot from Hell in a Cell 25 years ago when The Undertaker is tossing them off and they're going to make a career out of it. Sadly, a lot of these spots are going off, a lot of these death-defying moves, and nobody's remembering them the next day. Sadly. Anyway, thought I'd talk about that as we go into this next big story, and it is big. A laundry list of things that AEW can either no longer do or has to be ran through upper management before it can even be discussed further. What am I talking about? These are the details on the rumored AEW document banning certain moves and other I don't even know what you call it. It's not just situations. Wait till you hear what's on this list, man. It's not just moves, guys. I'll just read it. That's the best way to do it because it's mind-boggling. This is a lot of what people said made AEW special, and a lot of this, is not going to be approved going forward. Warner Brothers Discovery, not thrilled with what they've been hearing and seeing. Talked with AEW. Legal department got involved and sent a document to every talent, we're being told. Now, this document, it's a list that is banning the moves as follows. Unprotected chair shots to the dome piece. It's about time. That needed to happen. I don't know what they were thinking anyway with that. They haven't done them that much, to be honest. But that should be a given, knowing what we know now about certain things and how many concussions AEW wrestlers have already sustained. Also, hits to the back of the head, no longer allowed. Buckle bombs. Blind moves backward into the turnbuckle. They will not be able to sell seizures or concussion responses. So that goes, was it Bryan Danielson recently who like faked like he was having a like that made a lot of people uncomfortable. It looks like it made Warner Brothers Discovery uncomfortable. They're no longer allowed to or need great approval to spit, bleed in the crowd, use weapons in the crowd, physically interact with audience members, or take food or drink from audience members. These are all things we've seen in AEW just in the past few weeks. Mox is going to hurt a lot from this. His whole shtick. This is why he loved being away from WWE more than anything. This is Mox. They're basically just saying everything Mox does, don't do it. Oh, that was all what is absolutely banned. You can't even get approval, guys. Any hit to the head, buckle bombs, chair shots, obviously, to the head. Trying to sell seizures or concussion responses. You can no longer spit, no longer bleed in the crowd, use weapons, interact with audience members in any way, take food or drink especially. All of that is totally banned. Now, as far as you need clearance ahead of time, and expect a lot of this to not be approved because when you try to pitch it, a lot of it's not going to sound right. They're going to get scared. They're not going to approve a lot of this. But what needs approval? Spots and bumps on the apron and on the outside of the ring. Spots featuring tables, ladders, or chairs. Dives out. Any dive outside the ring now has to be cleared. Any dive. Pile drivers, and all variations of high-risk in-ring moves. Basically, every AEW match now has to be fully gone over with management. Also, I'm not even done, guys. The use of ring steps. The use of weapons. Or even the commentary table. All has to be approved beforehand. Simulated choking or hanging. Injury spots, brawling in the crowd, period. Moments involving individuals apart from the wrestlers involved in the match. Wow. And purposeful bleeding. Who's that remind you? Who comes to mind, right? Purposeful bleeding is no longer allowed or has to be greatly talked through with management. That all needs to be cleared before matches begin or segments. Additionally, Fightful is reporting that they've spoken to people within the company that have confirmed they received those documents. So it just confirms what was already issued out by reputable sources in the wrestling world. Fightful is saying that they also talked to individuals in the company, and they said, yes, they received the documents. So take that for what it is. Guys, that's huge. That tells you Warner Discovery, man. And it's another big reason as to why they just won't finalize this new TV rights deal. And if they do, they're going to make sure that they're robbing Tony completely blind and underneath the table. But AEW is going to change drastically, man. It's not going to be that little renegade that they were able for 5. I'm surprised they got away with this for 5 years. That's what I was telling you guys. I was shocked most about the ratings, that they weren't going up, is because they were able to get away with everything but murder, basically. On primetime television, now 3 times a week, they're able to do whatever they want. It's as close to ECW as we've gotten in a while, and they just weren't able to really captivate an audience to the point where people said, this is must-see TV. It's forgettable. An hour, half an hour, 10 minutes after the show, you forgot about it. And that's what shocked me the most. They were able to get away with a lot. But interested to see how you guys feel about that. That's going to greatly change AEW for sure. Kept you guys here a while now, man, on the second podcast of the day, and I know you guys still want to. If you haven't already, check out the first podcast, Jay Uso. We talk about Warner Discovery and why they're not finalizing that TV rights deal with AEW and NXT being absolutely in shambles right now, sadly. That's all in the podcast we put up a few hours ago. I want to talk Ronda Rousey before we get on out of here. She's leaving WWE. That might not shock you that much. She's been unhappy for a while. She's been promised things and she didn't get them. We thought she'd be much more than she was, and we didn't get the Ronda we thought we were going to get. It's just been botched from top to bottom. This is a relationship that unfortunately did not work. And I think she knows that, and she feels it's just time to go. To talk about this in a justified way, we have to go to the beginning. First of all, management, we are hearing, was pissed off when they heard Ronda just wants to leave. Because they were under the impression, and were told to, creatively anyway, to book Ronda as a tag team champion for the rest of 2023, build a division, and go into WrestleMania in Philadelphia as champions. That's what we are hearing was the plan, okay? Now, first of all, I would ask Ronda, what makes you think that was ever going to happen? Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné was promised that twice, once with Bayley and once with Trinity Fatu Naomi, and we know how it worked out both times. She was lied to, and she had to walk out both times. This last time for good. She'll be back one day, so maybe not for good, but she walked out and said, check you. Now, you can be told we're going to build a division around you. You're going to hold the titles for a long time. But what good is holding titles in a non-existent division? It's worthless. And maybe Ronda saw that. But management was pissed because they put in the time, supposedly, to draw out this master plan with Ronda and Shayna as tag title holders. And then Ronda's like, changing plans, calling an audible, I'm out of here. So yeah, a lot of people running around, making the rounds, trying to change shit last minute and rush a Shayna-Ronda SummerSlam match when they were just champions a couple weeks ago. So right there, management's not happy, we're hearing. Ronda's miserable. Ronda is in interviews and podcasts telling you she's miserable. She gives no fucks. Which is the Ronda that a lot of us fell in love with in UFC, by the way. Right? Tell the fans to fuck off. Tell your employer and fellow talent to fuck off. And just be a badass. Make people hate you. In WWE, she was way too scripted, way too forced. Way too not Ronda. It's just the Ronda Rousey in WWE, that was not Ronda Rousey, man. So everybody's miserable, basically, right? Now we're rushing a SummerSlam match. And then you hear, yep, this is it. Ronda wants to just take off. For the record, I need to do full disclosure. It is not confirmed she's leaving WWE after SummerSlam. But like a Clorox wipe, it is 99.99% sure we are. that she is leaving WWE. Again, that's probably not the shocking story for you. Maybe you all saw that coming for a while now. It's what we've been hearing over the last 7 days. One of the biggest things and one of the biggest reasons she's leaving, what she wants to do, is return to the UFC. In fact, just recently, now many people within UFC have been talking about Ronda Rousey. They're hearing that she wants to come back. But just recently, I believe this was Wednesday, in fact, this was Chelsea Chandler, UFC fighter, bantamweight. She told MMA Junkie, and I quote, "I've been hearing Ronda is coming back." And she pretty much capped it right there. It's almost like she didn't want to indulge too much more. She didn't want to give us any more. She didn't want to spoil anything. But she said what we've been hearing for days before Chelsea Chandler admitted that. I've been hearing Ronda is coming back. Now, yesterday, Ariel Helwani said, hold up, the rumors about Ronda coming back to UFC, as of now, are untrue. Ariel put a stop to those words. But then recently, TMZ Sports caught up with Dana White, and Dana said, when asked about such, Dana said, I know she has some desires to come back, but that's all I know. And it's almost like he was holding back some information, like he knows a little bit more. If Ronda Rousey leaving WWE looks like it just needs to happen, and it's sad. She should have and could have been something special. It was botched from day one. Her, Paul Levesque McMahon, everybody botched her. And it just didn't work. And I don't know how you can take Ronda Rousey, at one point literally deemed the baddest woman on the planet. Didn't matter if you felt she was or not, or thought she was or not. I know she got beat a couple of times. I get it. But she was deemed and looked at by so many as the baddest woman on the planet. That was the moniker. That was her title. How do you take that, put it into WWE, and it fails this miserably? Leaving WWE is not the shocker. Probably should happen, unfortunately. Very unfortunate, because I actually was a supporter of Rousey since the UFC days. But going back to UFC does not seem like a smart idea. Now, nobody should be telling anybody else how to live their life. I get it. Do what you got to do. Most of us will be watching, and we hope the best if that happens. To and for Ronda Rousey. But I'll be the first one to say it just doesn't seem like a smart decision. She's a mom now. She is nowhere near the shape and octagon ready to get into that structure and start taking the pounding that you're going to take. She was already getting whooped before she went over to WWE and left UFC. I don't look at this as a smart decision. This is not the same as Brock Lesnar trying to go back to the UFC several years ago. This is so different, man. It's a different animal. Unless you're a fighter, unless you've ever been in those structures, it's easy just to say, I'm okay. Well, let her do it, man. Let her do it. She might be really good again. Maybe. Maybe she'll be really good again. She'll be nowhere near as dominant as she once was. So what's the point? What are we proving? You still got something in the tank? This is fighting in the octagon. This is not just trying to prove yourself. You want to prove yourself. Go run 10 miles in the morning, right? Then you can go inside before your shower and go, I just ran 10 miles this morning. That is badass. Go put in 2 to 3 hours at the gym. Push yourself beyond your wildest measures and dreams. Cool. But if you're going into that octagon and you're going to have a fist fight, and people are going to be throwing their leg at your face to break your face, I hope you're doing it for the right reasons. It ain't about money. Can't be. Proving it to yourself? What are we proving? There's no way Ronda can be what she once was. There's just not a way. I'm telling you that. I'm guaranteeing it. I take no pleasure in saying that. I just admitted I was a big Ronda supporter in the UFC. I got Ronda merch. You guys have seen it. Big time supporter. And what she was able to accomplish, not just in the fighting, but everybody talking about her because she said fuck you to everybody. She was able to be hated. She was almost WWE in the UFC before she got to WWE. She was better as a WWE character in UFC than in WWE. Go figure. If this is just about pushing yourself, man, there's a laundry list of things you can do. I love seeing people go back after a few years to try something again, you know, see what you still got in the tank, man. That's cool. But if we're talking about putting Ronda Rousey up against some of these females, have you seen these ladies? The game has just been upped tenfold. It's not like it was when Ronda was dominating. I think that's the best way to put it. If there's anybody that just doesn't understand, BC, man, you love when people push themselves and you want to see what you still have left in the tank. What better way than to go back and see? But if you guys truly knew how badass these females are today, man, Ronda is going to get eaten alive. No, I don't want to see. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see it. So if she does go back to the UFC and these rumors end up being true, Ariel Helwani put a stop to it. Dana White and a lot of people in the UFC are hearing the opposite. Maybe Rousey tries to shut it down. I don't know. You know how Rousey is, man. She likes to do the shock surprise. Something's brewing. I think she is absolutely going back to the UFC to do something. She's going to commentate. She's going to interview. She's going to be a part. UFC's doing a lot of these side shows now. That makes it sound like a circus, but side shows, shows. UFC is doing a lot. They're bringing in former talent. They've always done that. Maybe Rousey does something outside the octagon, which is probably going to be best for everybody. But big developments there. Ronda Rousey exiting WWE and not just going home to be mom, but possibly winding up back in the octagon, returning to the UFC in some form or capacity. Does she have the itch? Does she have that bug again? BC will keep on top of this, guys. I assure you of that. I appreciate every single one of you guys, man, that caught not just this podcast, but podcast number 1 that we put up a few hours ago. If you guys caught every single minute of both, you guys are beyond amplified stars, man. I almost said you guys are rock stars, but ever since that Super Bowl commercial, where everyone's like, well, you stop saying rock star. Everybody is not a rock star unless you are a rock star. So now I'm always self-conscious when I'm calling somebody a rock star. So you're amplified stars now. That's right, Melty boy. I'm taking your imaginary stars. I wound them up in a ball, stuck them up your fucking candy. I'm not going to steal the Rock's gimmick, man. But I'm passing out the stars now. And every single one of my amplified unit members, you guys get a fucking star because we rocked this bitch out today. Until next time, and there will be a next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying check you.